As I mentioned in the last video, you're going to be inviting each and every woman that you like back to your home within the first few minutes of the interaction, and you're going to do it regardless of the current mood. What I mean by that is we don't ever care how much she says she likes you. We don't care if she hates you. We don't care if she laughs at all your jokes. We don't care if she tells you you're the sexiest, funniest guy in the world. All we care about is, does she comply or does she not comply? Many women are going to give you all the compliments and show all the interest in the world, but when it comes down to pulling, they won't do it, okay? For whatever reason, there's logistical issues or who knows. Now, the other thing is, some girls will be very into you, but just won't know how to show it. And then you're just gonna, if you don't lead it, you're just gonna assume that she's not into you, and it's gonna be a missed opportunity. So just lead it. You have an obligation to just go for it and see how she responds. And the only exception to that is if you're not actually into the girl, in which case move on. And the only exception to that is if you're winging your friend, in which case definitely see the pull even if you're not interested in your girl, as long as it helps your friend. Now, there are countless ways to seed the pull, and I've given them all very fancy names so that it's easy for you to understand and differentiate between all the options that you have available to you, and I've categorized them as well. So the first category is what I call bullet seeds, and these are your simple, easy, go-to one-liner type of seeds that are very effective. Okay, so it's going to be inviting her, let's say, to pregame, or just to do shots, to smoke weed, to have a little after party, or do some other fun, cool activity, maybe see your view, whatever. And it's going to be a one-liner. So to give you an example, if it's early on in the night, you can invite her to pregame just by saying, hey, we should pregame at my apartment. Do you do shots? You know, you might invite her to smoke weed instead or drink champagne or whatever else. Now, later on, assuming, let's say, everything's getting closed and it's toward the end of the night where it would make sense to have an after party, you could invite her to have one. So you could say, let's create a little after party together. Do you do shots? Do you smoke weed, or do you drink champagne? Whichever you want to use. You might even want to combine them. So yeah, you'll use that. Now, if you want to go with the champagne, by the way, that's a personal favorite of mine. The reason why is because it always sounds very cool, but just so you know, if you don't want to spend money, you could very easily get away with a $12 bottle of Prosecco, which no one knows the difference between Prosecco and champagne, which is pretty funny. And so it'll work like a charm. You'll come off like a boss for just a few dollars. Also, realize that it's not, there's an after party going on, you should come, and making it sound almost like she's a tag-along, you're going whether or not she's coming. Unless that's the truth, what I always say, and what I recommend that you say is, we should create a little after party together, or let's have an after party together. You know, do you do shots? Do you smoke weed? Simple as that, and that's a part of the bullet type of invite. Now, what I want you to realize is, any part of the night you could seed the pull, and you don't even need a great seed to use. So what I mean by that is, even though I gave you the pregame, which we'd obviously use early in the night, and I gave you the after party, which you'd obviously use as things start to close, then you could still seed using shots, smoking weed, checking out your nice view, checking out your bookcase. I don't want you to ever feel that if it's too late to have a pregame or too early to have an after party, you won't have anything to seed with, because plenty of girls will come home with you just off inviting them to do shots or whatever else. And also, don't worry about the seed as much. Okay, you don't need anything that crazy. I'm going to talk about like seeding to check out a nice view, a one-of-a-kind view, right? Things like that. All that stuff is helpful, but it really just comes down to the way you say it, the way you package it, and how exciting you make it sound. That's going to make all the difference. Now what I want to talk about is the other category, which I call shotgun seeds. And the reason why I call them shotgun seeds is because they're more heavy duty, meaning they'll work in tougher situations, but they're a little bit more involved. They require more descriptions, maybe showing her visual proof in the form of videos or pictures. It might even be making it make a lot of sense for her. So maybe you'll tell her something cool about your apartment, explain why it would benefit her. She says she's tired. You could say, oh, I have couches, so you could sit back and relax and just chill and enjoy a nice view, where you're actually explaining to her the benefit from it. So I want to give you a few examples so that we can jump into. The first one I call the American Pie seed, which is pretty much where you're inviting her to do something that's really fun, something that would be like what you'd see in an American Pie movie. So let's say body shots, drinking champagne off her boobs. It might be doing shotties, so which is where you blow smoke into each other's mouths and you're basically making out. And it's just something you would see at a party in the American Pie movies, where it just sounds more exciting. Now also there's the DHV seed, where you're demonstrating higher value by using this seed, where you might be showing her one of a kind view that she can't see anywhere else. Maybe you have a hot tub, maybe if you have that kind of lifestyle, use that stuff. It's going to demonstrate a lot of high value while at the same time giving her a really good reason to come back with you. Now there's the deep emotion seed, right, where you're going to be telling her a deep emotional story about whatever it is that you want to show her. So for instance, if you want to show her your view, let's say the view is something that you picked because you grew up in a small town that had no view, right? And you were used to these small one-story houses. There was no view. Now you tell her, oh my God, you tell her a heartwarming story about how that view is so important. Now she's not checking out the view anymore. She's not seeing a view. She's seeing the view. She's seeing almost what's a monument or something very sentimental and important to you. And it's almost like, checking out something historical, like I don't know, maybe the Statue of Liberty or whatever. There's a story behind it that really sells the experience. Another example is the good reason seed, where you pretty much give her a really good reason why it makes sense to go to your apartment. So for instance, let's say you guys leave the venue and you realize it's raining. You could say, okay, we are not staying in this rain. I'm calling this an Uber. I live 5 minutes from here. We're going there. Another option or another example is, let's say she says her feet hurt from her shoes, or your feet hurt from your shoes. Just say, okay, I got to get out of my shoes, or she says she has to get out of her shoes. Be like, okay, cool, I'm calling this a cab. We could go to my apartment. I live 5 minutes away. It's pretty comfortable over there. And you're actually going to give her a really good reason why it makes sense to go to your apartment just off that. So as you can see, the options in many ways are just like endless. We could just go on and on about the different ways to do it. And I'm going to give you more examples in a moment. But keep in mind that people almost always want to go to the better party. And the more exclusive and fun it sounds, the more inclined and amped they will be to follow your lead no matter what's going on at the club, okay? So keep that in mind and make sure that it sounds very, very fun, even if you're not pulling with anything terrific. It just needs to sound good, okay? So for example, if I were to explain to you what I mean, you could invite the girl to come and do shots with you, or her and her friend, and she'll come with you many, many times. But if you start talking about, let's say, the American Pie seed, where you talk about doing champagne off her boobs, or doing a shotty with her, or checking out your nice view, and if you want to get sexual, for instance, you could be like, oh my God, we're totally going to bang by my nice view. You could really do that, and you're going to use that to make the experience sound even more exciting, okay? You could tell her about your hot tub. We're going to jump in my hot tub. That stuff is going to sound way more exciting. We're going to take a bath together, whatever. It just needs to sound really, really fun and something that's a little bit crazy, okay? And the way you do that is just by introducing, let's say, oh, we should do shots together. And then you'd say, have you ever done a body shot? Or do you like champagne? Yeah. Has anyone ever drank champagne off your boobs? If you were to do something like that, believe me, it's going to land really well as long as you're paying attention to how she's responding and you're calibrated. So my go-to frames are always to make it sound as luxurious, high-end, and exclusive as possible, while still making it very, very clear that we're going to kind of go for the American Pie after party type of vibe, because people always want to have more fun. And so that's all I'm trying to do, is create a very fun but exclusive party type of experience, right? That's all I'm trying to do. And that's why it's going to be very helpful for you to describe the party and make it sound very, very fun, but at the same time make it sound like it's something you're going to do and create together, rather than, oh, it's an after party that's going on at this place that I know about and you should come with. Horrible way to invite, okay? It's tag along to a place that you don't even know anything about and that anyone could get in. So look, being descriptive is really going to make it sound very exciting, and you're going to see what I'm talking about in the upcoming examples that I'm going to give you. Another thing that will also benefit you is showing her pictures or videos. There's nothing to help supplement an invitation and show her how legitimate your invite is than showing her pictures or videos. So for example, if you're telling her, oh my God, you should check out my view, if you have a picture of the view that you want to, and the picture is it's a good picture of your view that you want to show her in person, believe me, that is going to help her realize, oh my God, this guy's actually legit. He has a cool view. Same thing with a video. If you're telling her how you want to do something really fun with her, you could show her videos that you've taken of other fun times you had, and don't worry about if she sees other girls are there. If anything, that'll make her realize, oh, okay, other girls have been there. They looked like they were having fun. It'll probably be okay. It's social proof. The other thing I want to talk about is what I call the we dynamic. The we dynamic is cementing the vibe that you two are together. So I've talked about this in previous videos where I said, always treat the girl as if you're already on a date with her from the very beginning. So as if you came there together, as if you're going to be hanging out there together, and as if you're going to leave together, and just no matter what happens, you guys are sticking together, and just have that relaxed vibe and treat her that way. If she says, I'm not coming with you, you say, well, I guess then I can't go either. Same idea. Now, what's going to further help cement that frame is using words like we, let's, together, we're, phrases like we're a team, we're a unit, right? And if you were to start combining them into a sentence, we should do something fun together after this. We should head to my apartment and do shots together, right? The we and together are awesome. Let's do body shots if you want to go for one of those American Pie seeds. Let's do body shots. Let's smoke weed. The let's part is so important, right? Also, we're a team. If the girl starts shutting you down in some ways, you can just say, hey, relax, we're a team, okay? We're a unit. That's a great one as well. We're a unit, we're a team. We do things together, all right? Chill. You could also say, let's make an after party together, or let's make our own after party together. It's ours. We're making this thing together. I'd love to show you my view if you were to say that, especially when you use words like love. You would love, I would love to show you, I'd love to do this with you, you would love to see this. When you use words like love, that is going to further intensify the vibe that you two have and the dynamic that you guys have together, and cement that you guys are creating something together, that you guys have a lovely dynamic, that you guys have a romantic dynamic, and that you guys are in this together. Now, as far as the invitation goes, it could be very, very helpful to frame the entire thing using what I call venue disqualifiers and venue qualifiers. So meaning a venue disqualifier is all the things that are bad about the venue that you currently are at, or even if you're on the street, the area where you're at, what's bad about it could be like, I don't know, homeless people walking around and harassing people. It could be obnoxious drunk people. There's always bad things going on that no one ever wants to deal with. Long lines in a venue to get drinks, long lines to get into the venue. It could be drinks are spilled all over the seats. How about the drinks are just not even good? She wants a drink, you want a drink, the drinks are bad, they're just watered down. There's a whole bunch of stuff that no one wants to deal with, and that's what we call a venue disqualifier. However, then there's the venue qualifier, which is why it makes sense to go to your apartment. What qualifies that to be the better experience? And that is, so you're going to start listing. You have clean couches, no alcohol in it. You have, drinks that are very, very good. You can put whatever you want, any kind of alcohol. These are what we call venue qualifiers. And when you start combining the venue qualifiers with the venue disqualifiers, so to leave the current venue you're at and to go to the venue that you want to go to, aka your home, that is going to make a very, very powerful and very sensical invitation. So to give you an example, you might say, look, I'd love to bring you to my apartment where we can hang out and drink and smoke and have fun together without having to wait in like these ridiculous 10-minute lines. Plus, I have a really good speaker system and really comfortable couches that don't have alcohol on them, and we could just chill, have our own space, and not have to worry about anyone spilling their drinks on us or falling all over on us. It's just, to me, it just makes a lot of sense. Now, if you were to say that, that would be awesome. But the only venue disqualifier I really say be careful about is talking about how expensive drinks are, because if you do it in the wrong way or with the wrong girl, it can make it sound like you're cheap, or she's not worth spending money on, or she's not worth the extra few dollars if you're going to buy her drinks, let's just say. Keep that in mind, okay? So I want you to realize you want to use that. You want to use those venue disqualifiers without ever sounding cheap. So make sure to describe all the cool parts of your apartment, and also make sure to describe how they benefit her, as I mentioned earlier on. So I gave you that example where I said, if the girl is tired, or let's say her friend is tired, and you'll see that in the infield, if she's tired, you could say, well, hey, I have really, really comfortable couches. If you were to sit on those, believe me, you're not going to want to get up. It's just going to be awesome. You're going to feel so comfortable. And, we'll smoke some weed and drink some wine. It'll be very fun. We'll all have fun together. So as I mentioned, there are many different ways to seed the poll. The ways I gave you before are fantastic. Okay, I gave you the American Pie seed. I gave you the Good Reason seed. Those seeds are awesome. The DHV seed. All those are really, really good, and it's going to sound awesome. So I'm going to tell you how to say it. So for example, the American Pie seed is, we should go to my apartment and have like a freaking American Pie night. We're going to go back, drink champagne. Like, I'll drink champagne off your tits or whatever. We can do body shots. Have you ever tried a body shot? and then now you introduce the idea. The DHV seed, again, show her a one-of-a-kind view. Show her something that's one of a kind, something that if she were to see it, she's like, whoa, this guy has his life together. This guy is the man. I use that with my bookcase because there's hundreds of books on there. When I travel, what do? I make sure to get a place that's really close by. And so just the fact that I live close by or I'm staying in a really good neighborhood, that's all demonstrating a lot of high value and makes it very, very clear that, okay, I'm with a pretty outstanding type of guy. So you could say, hey, we should go to my place, overlook the view, and we could even open up a nice bottle of wine. One thing I also might say is, you know, it's really funny. I live in a really, really cool place, and when people find out where I live or they see my apartment, they're always like, what do you do? Chris, what do you do? That's awesome. How could you afford this? And the funny thing is, I never care to answer those questions, and I think they're kind of like funny. I never care. But now it's kind of funny because I'm meeting you and I'm actually vibing really well with you. And now I actually just, for once, I'm like, I want to show somebody where I live. Like, this would be really cool to show somebody that I like what I've been able to pull off and just enjoy that together. That's going to land really, really well. There's also the sexual framing seed if you want to really go that way, where you're going to be pretty much explaining to her ahead of time that you guys are going to be hooking up, and you could say, wow, you know, you seem really, really good in bed. You know, if she's like, oh yeah, I've gotten compliments, you might say, yeah, well, if you're really, really that good, I'm already into you, so we could get out of here right now. That's totally cool with me. I live 5 minutes away from here. And you could seed that way. I also gave you the deep emotion seed where, let's say, for instance, if you have a nice view, just tell her a heartwarming story about it. Just say, yeah, you know, it's funny, I lived in a small town growing up and we didn't have any nice views, and so when I came to this city, that was the most important thing. I knew I needed to get a nice view, and I think I looked at like 30 plus apartments before I found this one, and now it's really actually one of my favorite things to show people when I meet somebody that I like. I like sharing that with somebody. It's like, this took me forever and this really mattered to me. So yeah, I'd love to show it to you. Let's go get to my apartment. We could have drinks. It'll be a lot of fun, and I get to show you the cool view. That's going to land really, really well. There's also the qualification seed where you'd tell her that you want to show her something that would actually make you like her more, okay? Or that you were only showing her because you like her. So I gave you some examples before with the DHV seed and the heartwarming story seed and whatever. All that stuff is really, really good. To give you another example is, you could, let's say, if you read a lot, you could say, you said you read, right? And then she's going to say yeah or no or whatever. You could say, yeah, it's funny, I have a ton of books. I probably have hundreds of books, and I love showing it to people, especially when I like someone. And when I show it to somebody, I always get to see how the response is, and I see they like it, wow, it's just, to me, it's like, holy crap, this girl is so cool. Now, the disqualification seed is where you would tell her something that if she didn't do it, it would make you like her less. Or, so for example, you could use the same bookcase example, but in the reverse. So you'd say, oh, I'm totally going to show you my bookcase, and I'm not going to lie. If you don't like it or you look at it as if you're bored, I'm just going to look at you and think, damn, that girl was so cool, but wow, that is such a deal breaker. I just lost so much interest in you, and kind of laugh and tease her about it. Not in a mean way, not in a derogatory way, just in a fun, playful way where you're teasing her, okay? You could also seed to her place, which is going to be very helpful when you don't have your own place for whatever reason. And the first thing you want to do is learn how to seed to her place, and the second thing you want to do is get your own freaking place, okay? Seriously, it's going to change your world. So you would say, something along the lines of, you said you have your own place, right? And she says, yeah. You say, awesome. I'm so down to go pick up a nice bottle or something, and we can head over there and we can drink there together, unless you already have something. Assume it, okay? Assume they're going there to her place. Just say, oh, I'd be down to go to your place and just have fun over there. Then there's drinking game seeds, where you can invite her to play drinking games, and this is especially helpful when you're pulling a group. Let's say you're pulling your friends and her friends. That's awesome. There's games like Cards Against Humanity, which is incredibly important if you don't know it, because so many people are surprisingly willing to leave the club to go play that game. You could also pull her for beer pong, and then you just obviously want to isolate her the way I explained in the closing section. But you'd say, like, oh, have you ever played the game Cards Against Humanity, or do you like the game Cards Against Humanity? And when she says yeah, you're going to say, awesome, I'd be so down to just pull out some drinks and just sit down, all of us, and play a game of Cards Against Humanity or beer pongs. Those are my favorite games to play at the end of the night. Then I already gave you the good excuse seed, which is where you're going to give her a really legitimate excuse on why you should go to your apartment. So, for example, I gave you I told you about the rain. I told you about if your shoes are hurting. As long as it makes sense and it's a legitimate excuse, don't hide the fact that you're going to your apartment just because you're giving her an excuse. But that's really good. The good excuse seed is going to make a lot of sense as well, because she's going to be like, yeah, obviously we have to go there. And so as you can see, I could pretty much do this all day. There are so many different ways you'd want to seed, or you can seed the poll, and pretty much just assume that as if you're already your girlfriend, you want to bring her back for something. Again, you assume you're on a date, and it's going to be way, way, way easy to do that when you follow my instructions on creating the description. Talk about the venue qualifiers versus the venue disqualifiers, especially, if you want to compare, like, oh, don't worry, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to bring you to this place because my home, because it has the view, whatever. Give her that description, and at the same time, if you have pictures, that would be awesome. Pictures, videos, all that will help you a lot. Now, the moment she says that she's ready to go, do not stand around. Take her hand and get her the hell out of there, okay? If she sees you're standing around, she looks to you like, are you going to lead? And you look at her, is this okay to lead? It's just going to fall through a lot of the time. The frame's going to collapse, and she's just going to think, okay, well, never mind, and you're going to lose it even though everything was set up properly.